Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm your host, Marisa B. And today I'd like to welcome author, certified cannabis educator, the host of Cannabis Truth Podcast, a trailblazer in the safety and effectiveness of cannabis, blending medical advocacy and practical education in gentle plant therapy. Let's welcome Honey Smith Walls today, everyone. Honey, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Marissa. It's beautiful to be here with you and your audience.
Well, thank you. I mean, you really are a trailblazer. First of all, I'd like to ask you, how long have you been involved in cannabis education and how long have you been running your podcast? Hi, everyone. Marisa B here from Radiant Living. If you like what we're doing and want to keep the conversations going, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every time we upload a video. Thank you.
Oh, ever since my husband took me running off on a sailboat in the Caribbean for a bunch of years and I got sick and had to figure out what the heck to do with myself and started smoking pot for a little relief and then got sick off of that pot because it was contaminated and then realized what was going on through a little serendipity event that happened, and the rest became history of the podcast to let everybody know what I had found out. And cannabis had just really become legalized in Florida at that time when all that jazz, in the background was happening with me. So I was easily able to convert from buying illegal street weed that was highly contaminated and was putting 1 foot of mine in the grave because of delicate immune system. I have myalgic encephalomyelitis. What CNN
So do I.
Yeah, what CNN laughingly used to call chronic fatigue.
Right.
And so with
all for a while they were calling it mast cell disease too. So now they have finally settled on a new name for it, but it's true. It's a serious illness.
It is. It is. And the medications that they give to you for figuring, trying to help relieve all of these issues compounds all of those issues.
Yes.
And then you begin blossoming new issues from that. So now you're in a world of hurt. And what are you going to do? Because so many women have IBS and, and just all of these arthritis and lupus and all of these, sad immune diseases that carry tons of side effects of their own, not to mention the polypharmacy they try to take to relieve it. So cannabis gave me a lot of relief. And
that's great to hear. That's great to hear.
It did. It managed so many of those issues all at once. It was no longer polypharmacy. It was having a little toke off a joint, and I want to emphasize that my cannabis use was trying to find relief for the pain that I was in, and my actual practical usage of it was minimal because I was still sneaking out back under the tree in the dark of night to go have a little puff. And there was a cop that lived across the street from me. I was always afraid he was going to get wind of it, So when it finally became legal, I got an attitude because I'd already gotten about 5 minutes worth of education about the plant and the politics and the science and the history. And it infuriated me because the plant gave me so much relief for so many of the issues. And then guess what? That was in 2016. I have not had a chronic fatigue episode since then.
Wow.
Because
that's wonderful.
Because I've been
But you're using the cannabis
clean
with the right, but it's not CBD. It's actually cannabis with the other, what is it,
THC is what you're
THC,
trying to,
right?
I'm
Yes.
thinking, but cannabis is really both hemp and marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis is one plant that is both
Mm-hmm.
male and female. And depending on how you grow it, it will grow to be a female, which is the marijuana, or it will grow to be male, the hemp.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in how you grow it.
Now,
And
is the hemp, the CBD comes from hemp or?
CBD is one of hundreds and hundreds of compounds in the
Mhm.
plant cannabis. So it grows in both marijuana
Okay.
and
Okay.
hemp. And so,
Hmm.
as does THC and
Hmm.
CBG and cannabigerol and
Hmm.
cannabidiol and cannabidiferin and all these
Mm.
other many, many hundreds of cannabis compounds. And there's more than just cannabinoids. There's terpenes, which are what you smell and taste. And those, the terpenes, are actually what decide your ride on cannabis.
Hmm.
Now, I want to tell y'all something. I'm 70 years old and I'm still using cannabis daily to manage really bad arthritis in my hands and neuropathy in my fingers and
Okay.
spasming in my
Hmm.
tummy and my moods because I don't live alone. And so, you know, I'm just calling it out. It's not easy living with other people, even if you love them dearly,
Yes, this is true. This is true.
God. And so
Indeed.
gives me tolerance for,
Hmm.
all the ups and downs of life.
Hmm.
And I love that balanced feeling. And I
Hmm.
never get high.
Now, you're the
I don't,
first person I'm speaking to on the show that's a cannabis educator in the United States. I've spoken to cannabis educators in Canada. I've spoken to cannabis growers in Canada, but no one here in the United States. We have, I'm assuming, so many different rules here because of so many different states.
oh, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And just today, I got a letter from the e-commerce company Stripe, who has banished me from using their e-commerce
Oh,
money
really?
app on my website because they called me a cannabis company, even though I don't touch the plant. I'm an educator and I have a
Right. Oh,
podcast.
wow.
And so the stigma is very real. Big
Wow.
companies still don't want to play. We still can't use credit cards in the cannabis industry. It is it's completely unfair to all of the business people who are trying to be legitimate within their state's,
Right.
restrictions. But it's crazy, crazy, crazy. And now Gavin Newsom out in California the governor of California is trying to
Mm.
remove CBD from hemp. Well, how fucking stupid is that? Pardon my French. He doesn't know that he's limiting the lifespan of all of the children with seizures who use that, to
Or
quell
maybe
their
he does know.
seizures a
Maybe
day.
he does know that.
Maybe he does know that that's what they use to help people with
Hmm.
autism settle their little nerves down and tummies down inside.
Hmm.
Maybe he doesn't realize the many, many, many military service people who come back with PTSD and are greatly relieved from
Hmm.
using CBD and hemp. Maybe he doesn't remember all of those guys in the football games that he watches getting CTE every
Hmm.
day, every Sunday from getting their heads bashed
Hmm.
in. Maybe he doesn't realize that our government has a patent on cannabis that proves that CBD is a neurotransmitter protector.
Hmm.
I'm just saying
Hmm.
the politics of cannabis has kept us back in the 1900s when it was stripped from our society globally, not just in the US, but
Right,
it was
right.
our US, it was our Americans who did that,
Hmm.
but it went global. And then And so that's the reason that none of our doctors know anything about cannabis and cannot prescribe it,
Right.
because
Or are
first
fearful of getting involved.
right, they've been forbidden to prescribe,
Mm-hmm.
or they have been, threatened with licensure.
Mm-hmm.
Before,
Yes.
they were just taxed heavily. That's how they got the doctors to stop using
Mm-hmm.
cannabis before they stripped it in the early
Mm-hmm.
1900s. So that's why our doctors don't know anything. Our nurses know a whole lot more, because they're the ones who have dealt with, the dying AIDS patients who
Yes.
got to use Brownie Mary, women like Brownie Mary, who went around
Mm-hmm.
protecting, helping those poor souls who died so horribly, because we didn't have anything to help them with. But
Right.
cannabis did, but it was illegal. Oh, let's throw those dying people in jail, shall we? It's maddening when you realize what the political history is, but when you see the beautiful, long, rich history of the plant itself, and how long it's been talked about and used in so many pharmacopoeias around the world, and how ancient it is. It's one of the first grasses that was ever grown and used for agri. So it brought our society into being. Hello.
And so now, does every state have a different, are we currently where every state has a different law for its
Yeah,
usage, or its growing,
yeah,
or its?
yes. You can't trust traveling with cannabis.
Right.
You can't.
Well, no, I would assume if it depends on per state, then right.
I'm in Michigan now, but I just moved up here a year and a half ago. When I was in Florida, they arrested a granny at Disney when they checked her bag. A little tincture bottle of CBD like this.
Wow.
It was just CBD. And so, of course, Disney got all the stink, but they rectified it. But it was not Disney. It was
the law in the state. Yes.
Right.
So now your podcast discusses all of this, correct? Let me ask you, when is
Yes,
your podcast on? How often do you do it? Weekly?
I've been doing this weekly for almost 6 years, and it was only last few months that I went to video and hired a video editor to help me do that. I've got almost 300 episodes. Most of them are speaking with medical professionals in the cannabis industry who are trying to get the word out about how safe cannabis is and why we should be using it instead of the polypharmacy that is so bad for our
Well,
system.
it's just another herb, right? I mean, it's just another herb. It's just another plant. It's a plant. It's not created in a lab. It's a plant.
Say that, yeah, right. We can't eat all plants, but this one we can.
No, but right, but it's a plant that we can utilize.
Right, it's really unique because it's not just for humanity to consume. But the white guys never would have made it over here to the Americas without cannabis, because you can't shove a boat across an ocean without sails and rope, both made of cannabis. And so, there's just our first settlers were commanded to grow hemp first. That's the first thing they had to grow. Why? To build our first American Navy boat. They wore hemp clothing. They used it for bedding.
Exactly.
They fed it. It was in all, it grew throughout the Americas. It's grown throughout the world. And so, the indigenous people have a longer history about it than we do, which I would love to get into someday. When
I know that it's a very difficult topic, because we are in the United States, and even though there are some areas that certain parts of the plant are legal, other parts are not. Not everybody can grow it. There's a lot of rules, and you have to have licenses. And certainly here, I can't speak for every state because I don't know all the rules, but I know in New York, for example, you cannot grow it yourself. There's just no way you can grow it yourself. It is illegal still.
Right. Can I do a little show and tell?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I gift for your audience
Thank you.
If they would like to go to healingbeyondhigh.com, which is, by the way, the name of my new book that's about to come out. And it's about helping people understand how to use cannabis safely and effectively with or without the high. Now, I love the high, but I don't get high because I'm 70 and I'm running multiple businesses on multiple levels and I have to focus, So a little show and tell. And the gift for your audience is at healingbeyondhigh.com, which is a cannabis recovery kit. It is a
nice. Thank you.
of what would be a good idea to have in your cannabis recovery kit. Now, I've got a little box here. I'm sorry you can't see it in the background. And it's just filled with different kinds of things. I didn't realize that my background might prevent this. But also in Michigan, we can grow our own. And this is what, it is a little bit. This is what it looks like. So
in the state of Michigan, you can grow your own. You're allowed to do that. I think isn't California as well, correct? I believe in California as well. There are some states, yes. I know.
There, and we just had an election and it all changed again for many states. So I don't know what Texas is doing. I think Oklahoma is still not recreational. Recreational did not pass in Florida. And I am so glad. I'll tell you why. Every single time a state begins their cannabis program with medical, they have a flock of patients come in wanting to find relief. And then when it goes recreational, because the patients hate paying $100 or $100 to $300 for a doctor that just gives them a slip of paper that says, yeah, you can go buy your own whatever cannabis it is, figure it out for yourself. I don't know a thing about it, but you go ahead and come back in 7 months because the law orders you to, and we have to go through this again. So again, it's an extra cost that insurance doesn't pay for. Insurance doesn't pay for your medications either, for your cannabis medications. And so why am I spending all of this money going to a dispensary to buy, special cannabis and the doctor thing when I can just go down to the store next door that's recreational and buy it across the counter?
Right. Or especially in another state if you're on a border, right?
But stop. That store next door probably doesn't have a certificate of analysis that proves there is no contamination in that product. That store next door doesn't give a crap about you as a patient. They won't take on your liability. They are just selling the high, and they're going to sell you the highest percentage of cannabis in their store because that's what they think is selling to the younger crowd. And it is, because that's what they're pushing. That's what the menu is all about. High THC products in a dispensary. And so when I moved up here about a year and a half ago, I found out that there were over 400,000 people in Michigan that had registered as medical marijuana patients. And it had dwindled down to 30,000 by the time I got here because of recreation. So all of those people are no longer getting any kind of education about cannabis. They're just being sold the high. And most elders or anybody looking for real relief isn't going to find it in the high.
Right. And what about the contamination? What do you mean?
Cannabinoids that they need, and they need to learn which ones will be right for them. And they need to learn that different kinds of cannabis will uplift you and other kinds of cannabis will put you to sleep. Some will make you focused. Some will get rid of that PTSD, negative looping memory thing going on in your mind. So,
and is that because of the type of plant it is?
That's because of the different terpenes and cannabinoids that grow in it and the genetics in it. Yeah. But the genetics are all getting mashed up just like our corn did. We used to have several hundred different kinds of corn. Now we're down to one because the, big boys in the corporate
with no nutrients, right?
Corn. I no point, no
That's
point.
Right. Might as well eat plastic. It's the same thing. Sadly.
There it is. So,
Now you mentioned
I'm,
contamination.
yeah,
See, that's what I'm always fearful of because I
I'm
understand that
terrified.
even though people can't grow it in New York on their own, but those that do, it's a very difficult plant to grow. You need a very controlled environment. They can get molds and mildews on the plant itself. But I'm
And
assuming there's
that's the
other
thing.
contaminants too, right?
So Dr. Ethan Russo is a guy, is a physician up north, and he had these patients who had cancer, and they were confessing to him after they were outliving their prognoses that they had begun using cannabis to quell their, suffering over having cancer. And then they died suddenly. And it was like whiplash because they didn't die from the cancer, and they didn't die from the cancer treatment, and they didn't die from the cannabis because there's never been a death recorded on this planet from the plant cannabis ever. They died from aspergillus mold in the plant,
Okay.
just like you said, that lined their lungs and prevented them from breathing. So said their autopsies. That's why we must be careful, especially as elders, about using any kind of plant to consume. Any. You wouldn't eat rotten lettuce.
Right.
You wouldn't. So this is just another plant that you have to be cautious of. We treat plants differently than we treat pharmaceuticals, pressed pills and elixirs and stuff. Those are all made in a lab. This stuff grows outside or even indoors. It can still get, all kinds of contamination, molds, mildews, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, heavy metals from the earth. They planted cannabis around Chernobyl to clean up Chernobyl after the big blast.
Oh, wow. Really?
Cannabis can filter our water. Cannabis can filter ocean water. So cannabis has already made an airplane. Henry Ford made his first car with cannabis. And then he grew cannabis and made biofuel out of it and ran 40,000 of his first cars on it. But biofuel out of cannabis is not very efficient. So that didn't work, but he did it. There's just, cannabis just has such an amazing history, and it's only because of the shenanigans of our politicians from the early 1900s and a bunch of top corporate people like, William Randolph Hearst, the big paper magnate who didn't want cannabis coming in and taking over all of those gazillions of trees and properties that he had for his paper magnate. And then the pharmaceuticals. They were pushing their pressed pills. They don't want live plants coming back, and that's too hard. So, it's corporate was truly wagging the dog of policy of cannabis. Alcatraz was the first for-profit prison that was built to house Black and brown people incarcerated for cannabis.
Wow.
It's just gobsmacking when you start learning, how mistreated this plant has become because of the shenanigans of politicians. Really, that's all it was.
Now, do you educate groups of people? Do you educate individuals? I know you have the podcast. I know you have experts on. You have doctors on, the medical people in the medical field. Do you have politicians on too, talking about the law on your podcast? Or
I don't, Marissa. I can't keep a civil tongue in my mouth around politicians anymore, and I realized that a long time ago. And so I just decided, it wasn't worth, pumping my blood pressure up to heart attack conversation. I just I don't know. I'm way more careful at 70. I'm way more careful about what goes in here. I don't watch the politics. I figured out a day late who won, and I don't watch news. I don't listen to blood, guts, and gore stuff, and women being murdered and slashed and stuff like. I don't listen to the Beatles. very much anymore, and that old music that I love and grew up with, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my emotions jerked around like a
Mm-hmm.
13-year-old little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what music can do. It can also put us in a really great place to focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on stuff, mantras in the background and stuff. I'm
Right.
careful, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm careful
Mm-hmm.
about what's going in here. So I've
Mm-hmm.
got plenty of space to think and to create
Mm-hmm.
and build my life the way I want it. You asked how I get to people now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to become an event host online.
Oh,
And so
oh, lovely.
I'm so excited about it. And I'm targeting women. I'm tired of having to argue my point with
Mm-hmm.
men. And for men, when women are the
Mm-hmm.
nurturers and they're the ones who really want to be there to learn the tricks
Mm-hmm.
of the woman 101 trade,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, womaning 101 just ain't easy on this planet. We suffer. And what I'm saying is cannabis can help you relieve a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
suffering in whatever form it is, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
spiritual or
Right.
intellectual, whether you've got PTSD from war
Mm-hmm.
or from living with your husband or your mother-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
you
True.
know, or whether you're a caretaker with, and your
Mm-hmm.
partner has
Yes.
Alzheimer's.
Yes.
You both
Right.
need it.
Exactly. Oh, very. Yes.
Caretaker
Yeah.
needs
Absolutely.
cannabis to help settle
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
And cannabis is perfect for settling anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So, so this is, I'm, I'm trying to live a better life and
Mm-hmm.
be disciplined about my
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
my focus and helping other women
Mm-hmm.
survive this planet with a lot less suffering. You know, if you can use
Right.
cannabis in your state, then
Mm-hmm.
hang out with me for another 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
in my own circle, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
help you and lead you to,
Mm-hmm.
the place where you need to go to get started.
Mhm. Now, do you have groups? So for example, now I'm personally dealing with a lot of pain recently. I've injured my back and I'm in a lot of pain. So now, do you
Oh,
have groups online? Do you have in-person events? I know you mentioned you're going to be an event host. Now, is that going to be in person or a virtual event host?
well, it will be a live event. So
Right.
all of the speakers who are coming will be live, but you understand I'm going to be inviting my cannabis industry, medical professionals and
Yes,
advocates like
lovely. Yes.
myself, who have a real
Hmm.
need to teach the
Hmm.
public, which is different than the science circles I run around in to
Right.
stay up on this stuff.
Hmm.
But that's exactly who I'm inviting because
Hmm.
guess what? We can't advertise.
Oh, really? Wow.
We can't advertise in the cannabis industry. We can't use credit cards, so there's no banking. E-commerce doesn't like us. Everybody's
Right.
nervous about, and
And
it's
now,
because
does that include also CBD or no? Does not include CBD, or
yeah,
that also
everybody's
includes CBD? Yes.
about CBD and the 2018 Farm Bill that
Hmm.
allowed everybody to start using CBD
Hmm.
products.
Right.
It's up this year, like soon, and
Oh, is
it's
it?
not
Okay.
it's not favored to pass again.
Hmm.
So
Oh
again,
boy.
politicians are screwing around with us, and
Mhm.
it matters who you vote for, but you can't get it's hard to get a straight answer out of any of them.
Well, yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's
So
true.
I have a Facebook group called Healing Beyond High, and I love talking to people there, and that's probably where we're going to land up off of the live
Your live
Facebook
event.
events. Right,
Hmm.
right.
Well, I'll
Unless
definitely put that
I
in the
have,
description. I'll put the
well,
I'll put the
it,
Facebook in the
oh,
description.
thank you. Thing of it
Yeah.
is, I'm not sure Facebook's going to let me do it. Facebook's real quirky
Oh,
about, see, Facebook's real quirky.
yes. Well, I know, I
about
know. I recently had this conversation with people that it is a platform owned by someone, and we're using the platform.
stop. Right. Sorry, my dog just found something to bark about. Usually he's
That's
quiet. Come on
okay.
back.
That's fine. Yeah,
I'm
so
really too.
that's going to be an issue. Yeah, but I will put the group in. I'll put the group in. And do you have a website also? I know, and the podcast, of course, I'll put the podcast link for
Thank you
the
so much.
audience. I'll put that in the description. I hope that your live event can take place, but I do understand what you're saying, because as I was just saying that someone recently said to me, it is a platform that someone owns. We're utilizing a platform that belongs to someone else, so they have every right to
Precisely.
do and what they want to
Precisely.
do. So yes.
And we have to play some real games with the Facebook algorithms. I have a business page, and if you're not using your business page to buy ads, there's no point in
Mm.
having a business page. Well, I didn't realize that until recently.
Right, because
And
they won't let you do anything. Yes. Yeah.
right, so they don't let me do anything. So my posts have been going nowhere for years, but
Mm.
they ripped my heart out about 5 years ago when they took about 5,000 of my followers away from me and
Wow.
ghosted my. So
Wow.
just being here makes me a little nervous, but there are
Mm-hmm.
other platforms too that
Mm-hmm.
the cannabis industry has
Mm-hmm.
created. And I think those are
Oh,
buy-ins,
nice.
but that's plan B. We'll see. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see what happens. You just, it's a man's world. And we just have to deal
Yes.
with
Well,
all of that brutality in business as best we can. You
it's
know,
it's very sad. It's very sad because it really doesn't have to be that way. It really does not have to be that way. It's really quite simple to be kind and caring towards
yeah,
each other. It really is just a simple thing to do. And
really is.
yet they somehow just can't get it. They just don't understand the key to that.
If your audience would like to stay in touch with me, please just go accept my gift at
I will put
healingbeyondhigh.com.
that. I'll also put that in the description.
Thank
And I will put it there so everybody can see it, and then they can just click on the link right in the description for that.
It
And I
will
thank you for offering that
save,
to the audience. You know,
honestly, it will save you hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you just think about it before you ever purchase or go
I
there to
myself
purchase.
am going to get it. I myself am going to get it because I'm interested to see, because I don't
Good.
know too much about it. Other than I know that somehow, and I don't know even too much. I'm in New York. Or I believe, and I'm not even certain if this is true, but I believe that they might have passed something recreation, because a lot of people are out there walking around with it now. So, I'm thinking that it passed here somehow at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I could
Well,
be wrong because I don't really know. I just know that someone that um sells, I believe, has a shop that sells CBD, says that no one can grow it and no one personally can grow it. So I don't really know all the rules. But it's fascinating to
it
find
is.
out what's going on, because we're talking about each state being different,
It
and
is.
now you said new leaders, and there might be new rules again.
Exactly. And we don't know what he's promising. So
Right.
it's just
Well,
all kind of cray cray up in the air.
yes, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, for taking the time to explain a little bit about this. And definitely, I would encourage people to listen to your podcast so that they can get the dirt on what's going on. They can hear from the experts. And, I thank you again.
My pleasure, and I hope to see you soon. Please call me or ding me if you ever have any other questions about cannabis for yourself, Marissa. I love to help you.
Oh, that's wonderful. I thank you so much, honey.
My
And I will
pleasure.
speak with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye now.